It was supposed to be his birthday party, but then my husband, the one who had been declared dead for 10 whole years, walked in like nothing had happened. And he wasn't alone. Right by his side stood Chloe, his longtime companion, and their 2 sons. One of his old friends clapped him on the back, laughing. "Ethan, man, that fake death stunt was genius. Hollywood owes you an award. Remember how Sarah was running around, pregnant and frantic, searching for you? Everyone said she was just some overly emotional woman. That was wild." Ethan smirked. If she hadn't been so desperate to trap me with that pregnancy, Chloe wouldn't have spiraled. Sarah needed to learn what it feels like to be rejected. Unless she gets down on her knees and apologizes to Chloe tonight, she and that kid she was carrying can forget about ever having my name. He said it like he was enjoying the thought of seeing me beg. But he had no idea. He thought he'd humiliated me for the last time. What he didn't know was everything. His staged death had backfired years ago. It wrecked the company's reputation. Stocks plummeted. Bankruptcy followed. His father collapsed from a heart attack. And his mother? She blamed me. She lost control, attacked me when I was 8 months pregnant, and I lost the baby. She took her own life before the police arrived. And I survived. I married Arthur Ford, the man Ethan owed a fortune to. We had a daughter, Lily. She's old enough now to talk back with attitude. Ethan kept smirking. Sarah? She was a wreck back then. Screaming in the streets like she'd lost everything. Thought getting pregnant would force me to stay? Ridiculous. Chloe was always the one for me. Then our eyes met. He stormed toward me. Sarah, what are you doing here? I disappeared to get away from you. Why won't you leave me alone? People whispered. Who is she? Mr. Ford's introducing his wife tonight. If this woman ruins it, there'll be consequences. I met his stare. You faked your death. I had our marriage legally ended years ago. You don't get to speak to me like that. And everyone here knows you're still not over me. He grabbed my arm, furious. You're an embarrassment. Chloe walked over, wearing her usual polite smile. Sarah, it's been 10 years. Why start trouble now? I know raising a child alone must have been difficult. If you're angry, take it out on me. Please don't ruin this night for Ethan. She acted like she was the one being wronged. Ethan sneered. You never change. Still the same spoiled brat. Chloe gave me 2 sons. She's the one who deserves respect. Not you. I looked him straight in the eye. I've been remarried for years. What you do has nothing to do with me. He scoffed out. Remarried? Don't make me laugh. Who would want you? Right then, Lily ran up to me. Mommy, who are they? Chloe's sons walked over arrogantly. One of them shoved Lily, making her fall and scrape her knee. The other sneered. You think you can take our dad away? I stepped between them and my daughter. That's when Ethan lashed out and kicked me. What's wrong with you, pushing kids around? He kicked me again. Shaking with anger, I stood up and slapped him across the face. You're a disgrace. Chloe gasped and grabbed his arm. Ethan, please don't get angry. I should have kept a better eye on the kids. He picked up a wine glass and hurled it at me. It shattered, splashing wine across my face. The room went silent. You're unhinged, I said through clenched teeth. I'm done playing along with this farce. I lifted Lily in my arms and started to leave, but Ethan blocked the way. Apologize to Chloe and the boys, now. Then disappear. This party isn't for people like you. I met his stare, calm and cold. I will never apologize. And I am remarried. Stay far away from me. As I turned my back, he shouted after me. You're not fooling anyone? You'll regret this. Once, I believed our arranged marriage was the start of a fairy tale. Ethan had been my hero. Now he was nothing but a nightmare. He had destroyed everything. Just then, my phone lit up with a message from Arthur. On my way. 15 minutes. I replied. Lily and I will meet you at the entrance. We cleaned up and headed to the lobby, but there he was again, Ethan. With Chloe. He grinned. Changed your mind? Get down and beg Chloe. Do it. The crowd around us murmured. Chloe's eyes widened. That pendant. Sarah, isn't that the one Mr. Ford gave Mrs. Ford? How do you have it? Whispers turned into gasps. She stole it? From Mrs. Ford? She's done. Ethan snapped. You stole from Chloe? Have you lost it? He lunged at me, grabbing my neck. I struggled to breathe. I am Mrs. Ford, I managed to choke out. That's my pendant. Silence fell. Then laughter. You? Mrs. Ford? Yeah, right. The crowd laughed louder. Suddenly, Lily pushed Ethan with all her might. Don't touch my mommy. Chloe's sons rushed again. One bit my arm, the other shoved Lily. She cried out. Just wait until my daddy gets here. And right then, he arrived. Arthur Ford. Sharp suit. Unshakable presence. The room fell silent. Lily ran into his arms. Daddy. They were hurting us. Arthur turned to Ethan, his voice like thunder. Touch my wife again. And you'll wish you had stayed gone. The room froze. Every whisper, every cruel smile vanished the moment Lily's voice cut through the tension. Arthur's eyes scanned the scene. Me, shaken and bruised, holding our sobbing daughter, Ethan, still mid-laugh, suddenly pale as the truth sank in. Arthur's jaw clenched. He moved forward slowly, deliberately, like a storm building. He didn't say a word at first. He simply came to my side, looked at Lily's scraped knee, the bruises on my arms, the wine-soaked dress, the red mark on my neck. Then he turned to the crowd, voice cold and steady. Who did this? No one responded. They didn't need to. Ethan laughed nervously. Arthur, this is all a misunderstanding. Sarah showed up out of nowhere and caused a scene. She went after the kids, and then... Enough. Arthur's voice cut through everything. He walked past Ethan and gently took Lily from my arms. Are you okay, sweetheart? She nodded, burying her face in his neck. They pushed me, she whispered. And one bit, Mommy. Arthur turned to Chloe's sons, his gaze sharp. Who taught you it was acceptable to hurt a woman? Or a child? Chloe opened her mouth, but Arthur raised a hand. I wasn't asking you. Then he looked back at Ethan. You hit my wife. You kicked her. You grabbed her by the neck. Ethan swallowed hard. I didn't know. You didn't care to know, Arthur snapped. You assumed. You humiliated her. You attacked her, in my home. People were already stepping away, silent. Chloe tried to intervene. Mr. Ford, maybe Sarah just misunderstood. No. What's misunderstood is that you thought you had the right to speak to her. Or to come near my daughter. Inviting you here was a mistake. Get out. All of you. Now. Ethan flared. You can't be serious. You're kicking me out for her? You don't know what she's like. She ruined my life. Arthur moved until they were face to face. You faked your death to avoid consequences. You left a pregnant woman behind while your family collapsed. Don't talk to me about ruined lives. Sarah survived everything you put her through and came out stronger. The silence was absolute. Arthur turned to me, voice gentler. Let's go upstairs. We'll clean Lily up. Security will make sure they never set foot here again. Ethan lunged, shouting, She's mine. You can't. Arthur didn't flinch. He punched Ethan clean across the jaw. Ethan crashed to the floor, groaning. Gasps rippled across the room. I don't share, Arthur said calmly. And I don't tolerate men who hurt women. He took my hand and held Lily close as we walked away. From the stairs, I glanced back one last time. Ethan crumpled, Chloe kneeling beside him. The same people who once mocked me now stared at them with disgust. For the first time in 10 years, I felt peace. The suite upstairs was quiet, far from the chaos. Arthur laid Lily gently on a velvet chaise and examined her knee. We'll take care of this, little warrior, he whispered, kissing her forehead. She nodded bravely, eyes still watery. I stood still, heart pounding in my chest. Arthur looked up. How long had they been bothering you before I arrived? Too long, I answered. Ethan's been waiting for a moment like this, some twisted chance to humiliate me in public. He stood and came to me, cradling my face. He will never get near you again. That's my promise. Tears burned, but I held them back. I had cried enough in front of Ethan. They don't believe me, I said. Even now, they think I stole this pendant. That I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. Arthur gave a slow, confident smile. Then maybe it's time they remember exactly who you are. Downstairs, the gala had dissolved into murmurs. Did you see Mr. Ford hit Ethan Cook? She's really Mrs. Ford? That's Sarah? No way. But the pendant. The daughter. It all adds up. By the time we returned to the hall, Lily in a fresh dress, my hair neatly pinned back, every eye was on us. Arthur walked straight to the stage. He took the mic without hesitation. There seems to be some confusion tonight, so allow me to clarify. This, he said, pulling me gently to his side, is my wife. The woman I married 5 years ago. The woman who rebuilt my world. The only person I trust with everything I am. The crowd stilled. My daughter, he continued, gesturing to Lily, is our pride. And anyone who raises a hand or voice against either of them is no longer welcome in my home, my company, or my life. There was a moment of stunned silence, then hesitant claps, building into full applause as the truth took hold. Chloe and Ethan were already gone, escorted out by security minutes earlier. Their supporters slipped away quietly, like shadows retreating at sunrise. Arthur turned to me. You don't have to fight anymore. Let me handle it from here. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because the tide had turned. And this time, I was standing on solid ground. By morning, the headlines were everywhere. CEO Arthur Ford defends wife in shocking gala confrontation. Ex-husband attacks billionaire's wife, security footage confirms assault. The real Mrs. Ford, Sarah's disappearance and powerful return. The security team had released just enough footage, Ethan pushing me, grabbing my neck, Chloe's sons cornering Lily, and finally, Arthur's clean, decisive punch. Righteous and unforgettable. I didn't have to speak. The world did it for me. That afternoon, Arthur's legal team filed charges, assault, defamation, and attempted child endangerment. Ethan's already unstable company stocks plummeted beyond recovery. His lawyer dropped him. His sponsors vanished. Within 24 hours, Ethan Cook was toxic. Chloe tried to flip the narrative. She appeared on camera, tearful and remorseful. We didn't know she was Mrs. Ford. We were misled. Ethan just panicked. He's been through a lot. But the public didn't buy it. A leaked email surfaced, Chloe begging Ethan to make Sarah pay, suggesting ways to break her publicly. She wasn't innocent. She was involved. I was sipping tea on the balcony when Arthur stepped out, phone in hand. It's done, he said. What is? They're being sued, publicly, professionally, personally. With luck, they'll be fighting over motel vouchers by the end of the month. I looked out at the horizon, exhaled deeply. Does that make me petty? He smiled. No. It makes you free. He stepped behind me, arms wrapping around my waist. And besides, he whispered, we're just getting started. Because I hadn't told him yet. The woman Ethan abandoned 10 years ago never came back. The one who rose from that wreckage had scars and plans. The first of which started with opening a very old safe deposit box. Under a different name. Eleanor S. Ward. At the First National Bank of Harrisfield, I handed over the key. The clerk barely glanced up as I signed the form. The box hadn't been touched in a decade. Inside were 3 things. First, a stack of letters. The ones Ethan had sent me after he disappeared, never meant to be read. Rambling apologies laced with manipulation. One draft even contained his original confession. I staged my death. I lied. Chloe and I planned it together. Second, the original police report I'd hidden, the one detailing his mother's attack and how Ethan paid off the officers to make the charges vanish. Third, a flash drive. Arthur had helped me decrypt it months ago. On it? Footage from the night before Ethan's staged drowning. He and Chloe on the yacht, rehearsing their story, laughing, toasting to their new life. Now, I had everything I needed. Back home, Arthur was already preparing the next move. If you release this, he said, it won't just ruin them. It could lead to federal charges, fraud, obstruction, conspiracy. I know, I replied. And I'm ready. That night, I emailed every outlet that once mocked me. I attached the footage. I released the letters. And then, I made one call. To Clarice Vane, The journalist who'd written the most brutal article about me after Ethan's death. I didn't ask for an apology. I gave her something better. The truth. She took it. By the end of the week, my face was everywhere, not as the grieving wife, not as the unstable ex, but as the woman who survived the unimaginable, rebuilt everything, and exposed the lies. In less than 72 hours, it exploded. Ethan Cook exposed in death hoax and financial fraud scheme. Side-by-side footage of him laughing on the yacht played next to Chloe's carefully rehearsed apologies. Her image shattered. Bloggers dissected every inconsistency. Investigators reopened her previous case. Former victims stepped forward. A class action lawsuit was filed. Arthur's lawyers didn't hold back. Ethan's accounts were frozen. Chloe's family scrambled, but leaked documents revealed they had helped launder money during the hoax. I watched it unfold from the couch, Lily asleep in my lap, her small fingers tangled in my hair. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt peace. For the first time in a decade, no one could rewrite my truth. Arthur switched off the TV. We should go. Go where? He handed me an envelope. Inside, a deed. A quiet coastal home, far from Harrisfield. Just for a while. No cameras. No noise. Just us. I hesitated. You think I can walk away now? He smiled. You already did. Now let the fire burn on its own. At the bottom of the envelope was one more letter, from Ethan's former business partner. He'd agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. The trial was coming. But I wouldn't need to be there. The empire Ethan built on lies had collapsed under the weight of its own rot. All I had to do now was live. But before we left, I had one final stop to make. I dressed in black and visited the quiet cemetery just outside the city. There, beneath a cherry blossom tree, stood a grave with no body. A tombstone etched 10 years ago. Ethan Cook, beloved son, husband, and friend. Lost at sea. I knelt beside it, letting my fingers trace the name. You never really died, I whispered. But the man I once loved did. Then I stood, turned my back on the stone, and didn't look back. The coastal house was everything Arthur had promised. Secluded cliffs, clean ocean air, a winding path down to a private beach. No cameras, no headlines, no whispers. Just peace. Lily ran barefoot through the sand, her laughter riding the wind. For the first time, her joy was untouched by pain. I spent my mornings journaling, my nights wrapped in Arthur's arms. But even in paradise, the ghosts followed. One evening, as the sky turned gold, Arthur found me on the cliffs, staring at the horizon. He sat beside me quietly, then asked, "Do you regret it?" I knew what he meant, exposing the truth. Burning Ethan's life down. No, I said. I regret trusting him. Believing love meant loyalty, even when it cost me everything. I spent too long mourning someone who chose to bury me instead of love me. He took my hand gently. Then stopped mourning. Let her go. I looked at him, confused. The woman he left behind, he clarified. You're not her anymore. You're not Sarah Cook. You're Sarah Ford. The woman who rose. Something loosened in my chest. Grief, yes. But also, freedom. That night, I opened my laptop and wrote the first line of a book I never imagined I'd write. He faked his death, but I was the one who came back from the grave. The words poured out, chapter after chapter. Not a revenge story. A resurrection. Weeks later, the trial began without me. The evidence spoke louder than I ever could. Ethan faced 22 counts of fraud, assault, and obstruction. Chloe was charged as a co-conspirator. I didn't watch the verdict. I was busy teaching Lily how to ride a bike. The past no longer held me. But I had one final surprise before I truly closed that chapter. The courtroom was tense. Ethan sat rigid in his standard issue suit, face pale. Chloe, behind the defense table, stared ahead, expression empty, her composure finally broken. The prosecutor stood. Before sentencing, Your Honor, the victim has submitted a video statement. Gasps echoed. The screen lit up. There I stood, calm, composed, with the ocean behind me. Hello, Ethan, I began. I'm not here to scream, cry, or beg. That version of me is gone. He flinched. I'm here to thank you. Silence. Thank you for faking your death. For leaving me in ruins. Because in those ruins, I rebuilt something stronger. Chloe lowered her eyes. Ethan's fists clenched. You said I'd be nothing without your name. You were wrong. Today, I run a non-profit helping women escape emotional abuse. My daughter is safe. My husband loves me. And the only one still living in the past is you. I leaned slightly closer to the camera. So this is goodbye. From this moment on, you don't exist. You're not my ex. You're not my story. You're just a warning. The screen went dark. The judge cleared his throat. For the crimes of fraud, assault, and obstruction, I sentence Ethan Cook to 25 years in federal prison without parole. Ethan exploded. You can't do this. She's lying. She's lying. But no one listened. The world had already moved on. And so had I. 1 year later. The Manhattan bookstore was packed. Standing room only. Chimeras flashed. Copies of Ashes Don't Lie vanished faster than staff could restock. I stood by the podium, tracing the gold lettering across the cover. Sarah Ford, author, survivor, wife, mother. A far cry from the woman once discarded and silenced. When it was time to speak, I looked out at the crowd, young women holding hands, older women nodding, men listening closely. I smiled. My story isn't rare, I said. Too many know what it feels like to be silenced, doubted, erased. But I've learned something from every betrayal, every scar, every silence. I glanced down at Lily in the front row, wearing her "My Mommy Wrote This Book" sticker, proudly sitting on Arthur's lap. They thought they were breaking me. But they were building me. Applause roared. Later, while signing books, a young woman approached, voice trembling. How did you move on after everything? I looked into her eyes and answered softly. I stopped waiting for an apology. And gave myself permission to heal without one. Outside, the city lights sparkled. Arthur took my hand. What now? I smiled and pulled my coat tighter. Now I live, loudly, fully. And on my own damn terms. Because Sarah Cook may have been buried. But Sarah Ford? She had only just begun.